I like to describe privilege like archways that are so wide open you don't even notice them, but are closed and locked doors to others. To continue this analogy, the maze like labyrinth of corridors some need to traverse in life to move forward leave them depleted and exhausted, not nearly as far along with the basics as those with privilege to not even notice these thresholds. We live in a world where just about everything is bowed and rifted by systemic oppression. This affects the lives of all people within the systems, uplifting a dominant narrative and suppressing the stories and perspectives of marginalized people. This affects, as well, the degree of happiness or trauma-warping mental health of people in the system. That's why holding space to a sense of kindness and unconditional positive regard can help us to build and mend bridges and in turn be more effective at our goals. Many who have privilege based on holding non-target identities are traumatized and deformed by guilt or shame and a sense of diminished integrity as they live within a system that limits recognizing humanity's full potential. Those without privilege based on arbitrary social categories are pressed into ways of being that discount their dignity and the authority of their narratives, effectively limiting their agency and access to self-determination. Given that people are walking around with a ton of trauma triggers with no disclaimer, you can imagine if you trip one of these seemingly invisible landmines, you can end up on somebody's wrong side. No matter what amount of common sense, it won't get it. And in many cases, short-term feel-good is far outweighing common sense. We have to learn how to talk to one another, how to bridge across the barriers of stance, privilege, and awareness to form bonds that lead to the unified movement. Another relevant aspect of trauma is microaggressions, which are often unconscious, unintentional, but oppressive statements that are used every day and effectively classify people as other. If one or more person tells me something a million times in that day, it's going to have a much larger effect on my mental health than somebody who never even hears it. These statements have been described as death by 1,000 cuts. So we need to learn how to talk about this and how to talk with each other across sociocultural barriers. Just remember, it's not about being right. It can be hard for people to sacrifice that for the sake of efficiency. So it's about helping others to both feel right with themselves and with you, so you can exchange ideas and co-create positive movements. Only when we heal this deep rift of wanting to be heard and honored as human beings with inherent value will we begin to step forward together into a sustaining future.